Win something one time and it could be a fluke. Do it twice and people know you're for real. Win it 3 times and we use the word dynasty. And if you win something a 4th time, now we're talking about total dominance. For the 4th time, the Oklahoma Association of Broadcasters has named Aaron Kalk's The Skinny on Sports Report the non-metro sportscast of the year.
Good afternoon, Western Oklahoma. I'm Aaron Kalk, and this is The Skinny on Sports Report.
Congratulations, Aaron, or should we say Mr. 4-timer. Now keep on dominating.
If you build it, he will.
It's The Skinny on Sports Podcast with Aaron Kalk.
I throw balls far. You want good words? Data language.
Talk real sports with a real man.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
And now, here's the be-all, end-all, know-it-all of high school, college, and pro sports. Aaron Skinny Kalk with The Skinny on Sports.
We're talking about practice, man. I'm the MVP.
And a good Wednesday morning out there, Western Oklahoma. Welcome to The Skinny on Sports right here on 98.1 FM, the sports animal. It's a Tucker Family Beef Wednesday. We'll have the Tucker Family Beef of the Week coming up here at the top of the second segment. Other things going on, at least on the show prep today. I've got a fun exercise that I think everybody will really enjoy. I was looking on ESPN's website, and they did the all-time starting 5 of the 4 Final Four teams, and then kind of compared them and contrasted who would win, who would lose. It was an obvious blowout who would win that one.
It's like, you think they went through it, and they're like,
they looked at Florida.
why are we even doing this?
They looked at Florida Atlantic, went, this team.
It's like, I saw that headline, and I didn't click it because of that reason. Like, this
So,
is going to be
but here's
very
what-
UConn heavy.
Yeah, I mean, when you saw the teams, it was like, okay, San Diego State has Kawhi, and UConn has the rest. But anyhow, it got me to thinking. What would be your all-time starting 5 at OU and OSU?
Oh, that's a good one.
So that's what I did.
So
All-time.
You got a list?
I've got lists, and I've
Okay.
got kind of a bench. I've got a bunch of stuff. So you're
good,
your
because I'm not going to be able to do that
all-time
on the fly. That's
starting 5 at OU and OSU.
Yeah, that seems like homework for me, but I'd love to hear what you said.
Okay,
And
so
I can get an idea.
and I've got some bench guys on both sides that got left off. You can call them bench guys. You can call them guys left off. So who do you got? All-time starting 5 from OU and OSU. Do I owe the women's tournament an apology? Is that what this text is about that we just got? Probably. But that's the question. Do I owe the women's? Yeah, sure enough. I knew when I saw who texted that. I already had it on my
waiting
list.
for my slow computer.
I
to
already
catch up.
have it on my list. Do I owe the women's tournament an apology? Tucker Family Beef of the Week. NFL owners meetings. Did you see what was proposed and kind of tabled about the scheduling for the NFL?
Like flexing Thursday games?
Flexing Thursday games.
Something like that, yeah. I did see that.
I think that's going to be – that has been tabled. But I do believe, just kind of reading some comments from different owners, 2 Thursday night games is going to be a huge possibility for teams. Why? Is the NFL become beholden to the Amazon Express? We'll talk about that a little bit. As I mentioned, the beef of the week. Thunder lose to Kings last night. Has your expectations changed so much throughout this season that now that's considered a bad loss? Where are the Thunder in the playoff race? Did you hear Mark Daigneault after the game?
No.
Ooh, what he said, I guarantee you, is not going to make people happy.
Really?
Yes. Basically, if we make the play-in, if we make the playoffs, so be it, but we're not going to jeopardize the development and the future just to make the play-in, which that's not making anybody happy, fan-wise. That's why I ask, have you changed? Like, does that – last time when you saw the loss or – watching the loss, where you're just like, oh my gosh, what a terrible loss. How do they lose the Hornets? Versus, can't believe they even had a chance to make the play-in. Anyway, we'll talk about that. Josh Giddey, Jalen Williams, and Isaiah Joe became the second trio in NBA history to score 30-plus apiece in an NBA game at the age of 24 or under? The trivia question for today is, what other trio did they join? And I'll leave that out there for the text line and Jared's interpretation. 225-9698 is the phone or the text line. That's 225-9698. Give us a call, shoot us a text. We can talk about any of those things. Whatever else might be on your mind, feel free to chime right in at 225-9698. If you're going to be outside the listening area, a couple ways to stay in touch with the show. You can log on to kadsam.com. You can download the Paragon Communications app. The app has got it all. It's got radio stations. It's got the Penny News. Brand new edition of that Penny News hit the website last night at midnight, thepennynews.com. So check out the free deals, or check out all the deals in the free Penny News online. Of course, you can pick up a free copy of the Penny News coming up here, in some locations tonight. By tomorrow morning when we're on the air, you can find it everywhere. So check that out. Skinny on Sports Podcast, iTunes, kadsam.com as well. The trivia question was, Josh Giddey, Jalen Williams, and Isaiah Joe became the second trio ever in NBA history under the age of 24 to score 30 in the same game, 30-plus in the same game. Who was the first trio to do that? And we have a ding, 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 ding.
In franchise history?
No, in NBA history.
Okay.
NBA history.
Okay.
And we have a winner. Ding, 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 ding. I'll tell you as I let everybody marinate, see if anybody,
let the questions sink in.
Kind of sink in.
Yeah.
All right, so Jared, how are you today?
I'm very well. How are you?
Oh, just wonderful. How was your evening?
It was good. I'm trying to think, what did I do? Not a lot. You know what I watched?
What?
And then I kind of thought, oh yeah, this is another good time of the year. Hockey.
Yeah.
Watched the Edmonton Oilers take on Vegas and whip them last night. Edmonton has a pretty good team.
Edmonton, Connor McDavid
is a player.
Is
man.
a stud.
He's good.
What did I see? He scored here it is. First player to hit 140 points since 1996.
I think now Vegas, I think they're leading the West standings. My hockey knowledge is not as acute this time of year as it is when the Stanley Cup playoffs start. But
they're about to.
They're about to. That's what I was saying. This is another reason to look forward to this time of the year because they kind of coincide with the NBA playoffs at the same time. And hockey, this kind of goes to my beef last week. It's so much more accessible. Now, the popularity of the sport might be a reason why, because they're trying to regain the popularity of the sport. But if you subscribe to ESPN Plus, you pretty much can watch any game you want.
Here's the deal. I'm glad you mentioned ESPN Plus. Because ESPN Plus has taken some flack for different games being on there, especially during football or basketball season in the Big 12.
Mm-hmm.
I got news for you. There is not a better value in anything than ESPN Plus.
Agreed. I got really super
It's like,
excited.
what, $50 a year? And you can watch...
Well, it's gone up, but...
I don't even remember what
it's gone up.
But you can watch nearly anything you want to.
You can't, and even
golf.
though it's gone up, you can still... You can watch, and I like how they... It's not like when they do the golf, for example. Okay, we'll do about 3 or 4 featured groups. How about a featured hole? We'll just watch this hole. Or the main feed. You have options.
Yeah.
I loved it that OU struck a deal with them, and you got Sooner Vision on there.
Oh, anybody that likes college baseball?
Yeah, you can watch any college.
Or college softball.
Right that's where I was going. If I'm like, OSU's or OU or OSU's playing, I bet you it's on ESPN Plus.
And it will be. It's all over the place. They got
softball,
everything.
There's a big matchup this weekend with OU and Texas.
OU
you don't need ESPN Plus for that. It's going to be on the big ones. But, yeah, ESPN Plus is good. And then they offer all that hockey. It's called Power Play. And it was like, what's his name, Steve Levy?
Yeah, I love Steve Levy.
He was on the call last night. So another reason to get a little excited about this time of year because they're coming down the stretch. I'm efforting their standings.
I've got it right here. Vegas has 98 points leading the West.
Is Edmonton right behind them or a couple spots behind them?
Edmonton is 95. But Edmonton would be in the playoffs.
Oh, yeah.
The divisions change up a little bit. It's hard to know. The Bruins have been the best team in hockey by far all season long. They're clear to 119 points, 57, 12, and 5. But yeah, Vegas. The West is pretty close. 98 all the way down to 94. Dallas and Colorado at 94 points. And then the Kraken and the Jets. The Winnipeg Jets. That's always been one of my favorite kind of obscure
mascots.
Yeah. The Jets. I don't know. It seems like the Winnipeg Jets are way cooler than the New York Jets. For some reason.
Yeah.
Maybe
they were in Atlanta. You didn't think about.
Maybe just the name Winnipeg sounds cool. Let's get lost last night to the Charlotte Hornets, 7-134. Charlotte 40% from three. As I mentioned, Giddy Williams, second tree, 24 years in a game. It wasn't much of a trivia question. I think it'd been harder if it was a different trio to get. But the other one was, as Dakota called it, the OG Big Three of Durant, Westbrook, and Harden. So the Thunder franchise is the only franchise ever to have this happen in a game, and now it's happened twice.
It's telling you, it's Thunder U 2.0. It's mirroring the upstart Thunder way back when. It just has that feeling. Go ahead.
But OKC falls 137-134 to Charlotte. They're still in the 10th spot. At the end of the day, though, this took away their mulligan. Because Dallas has struggled here in the recent part, 3-7 in their last 10. So Oklahoma City went into that game last night with a one-game advantage in the loss column, plus the tiebreak in hand. And they throw that all away, on the bottom end. Now tied with Dallas at 37-39. They're still in the 10th spot because they do have that tiebreaker. But, that mulligan not only gets them closer to Dallas, but also it would have put them up there in a tie for 8th with New Orleans, ahead of the Lakers now, if you win that game against lowly Charlotte. How about Charlotte? Who would have ever thought that the Charlotte Hornets be the fly in the ointment in the Western Conference playoff? They swept Dallas over the weekend, now beat Oklahoma City last night. So they've had as much to do with the standings in the West as anybody else has, especially coming from a team that's already eliminated from the playoffs and probably going to be like the 4th worst record in the league. Well, they've almost got that cinched as the 4th most worst record in the league. But
Charlotte, Wembanyama, slow down there.
Well, the thing is, they can't hardly catch the guys below them. San Antonio with 19 wins, Charlotte now 26. But you're right, that's 3 more than they needed. If you're looking at it through the lens of Oklahoma City and Dallas, is this
It stung for sure at the time, but then you look into it's the growing pains, I think, of that Thunder U I spoke of earlier. There's going to be losses like this, but when you look at who didn't play for Charlotte last night, obviously SGA didn't play for the Thunder last night. It felt like that there were times when they were up like 11, up 12, like okay, they're going to be fine. Little I watched, Giddy looked really good, and they'll be fine. Then they had that horrible fourth quarter, able to come back from a 6-point deficit at one point.
Yeah, they were down 10 at one point.
10, and it was close there under a minute. Just didn't get the bucket to fall. But it felt – I think it's like, okay, remember when Anthony Davis hit the shot that ultimately knocked the Thunder out of the playoffs? And at the time, I was like, well – hope that loss doesn't bite them in the rear end. And this just kind of has that feeling. Like, let's see, if they, at the end of the day, if they're just, they fall out of the playoffs, like, man, wish I hadn't dropped that home game to Charlotte.
Oh, 100%.
So I guess I'm waiting for let's wait and see. But at the time, it stings. I guess that's my answer. It's a stinging loss.
And it's
from the Hornets. Get it? And
it's the first time in a while that Oklahoma City has had losses like this down the stretch of seasons, because they're actually in, and that's where have you changed what your expectations are for this team as the season has rolled along? I think that's only natural for fans to do, especially with considering how low the expectations were coming in. This was going to be, the question at the beginning of the year, when they make the playoffs or the play-in, the question was, are they tank or just sort of tank? Just burst seen at maybe even a couple levels higher than you thought he could already. And then obviously that focus went to, okay, let's make sure that he's in these. He deserves it, and he was. Can he make the? And I think he'll be right there as a second, right on that on the cusp of that, if not in that team. And so I think it's all about whether or not you've changed your expectations for this team. And if you have, that was a devastating loss. Devastating. Not only the loss, but then to hear what Mark Daigneault had to say afterwards.
Now, what did he say? I didn't hear it. What did he say?
He essentially said that making the play-in or the playoffs doesn't matter. They're not going to sacrifice the long-term development and the long-term goals of this reimagining or whatever Presti called it. He didn't call it a rebuild, whatever that word term was, in order to just make it this year. And so it's almost, I think for a lot of people, that's kind of a crushing thing to hear, right? Because you actually start, and here is my thing. It's obvious their plan is working. Everybody else does we're conversation because they have, and Scotty on the text line is exactly right. This team being this good, this young, and developing that young talent to the level that it did even like last night, it shows you how great Presti is at spotting those players at the ability that can come out of young guys. Mm-hmm. To be the only franchise ever to have this happen, and now the second time it's happened with the 3 30-point scores that young, shows his eye for that talent. And so no matter what you think about what Daigneault said, the plan is absolute. Now the question is, do you tweak the plan
for a
push? And it's obvious last night, Jared Butts, Poku's playing minutes. I mean,
I thought,
what is going on here?
Do we want to win? I know he was, he came back from that recovery or that rehab stint with the blue and all that, and he had a good stint down there. And he showed us flashes of good stuff, but I was like, when you're playing for playoffs, playing for postseason, I don't think Poku's the answer right now.
Well, no, he's not.
No.
Absolutely not. And the problem is, without Shea, without Kenrich Williams, who's done for the year with injury, the Thunder become unbelievably thin. But you know how I can tell they didn't care about winning that game?
Besides playing Poku? Why?
Okay, Poku, Robinson Earl combined for 37 minutes. Dario Saric played 3. If you're trying to win, Saric is playing more than 3 minutes. And then also you look at Trey Mann, played 18 minutes. Andrew Wiggins played 12. And then Jared Butler. Did you even know the Thunder had Jared Butler from Baylor?
Now you say it, yes, but I remember that they got him, yeah.
Yeah, so he played 7 minutes last night. Do you know how many minutes he's played all year long?
7?
9.
9.
Yeesh. Anyway, I can see why fans listen. I can see why people that have started to invest in the Thunder are upset right now.
Right.
And I guess the only thing you can say on the other side of it is trust the process because, it's obviously working with where they've gotten to this season above. It's clear they're better than even they, right?
Yeah.
Because this wasn't in the – they're not playing because this wasn't the plan to be in this race for the play-in or the playoff.
And you should probably look into, and I was kind of on this one, was – what do the Thunder do in before the trade deadline? Are they buyers or sellers? Does their position in the standings change the plan moving forward this season?
And it obviously did not.
It did not. So that probably should have been the big writing on the wall was this is still a process. Whatever happens at the end of the game, it happens at the end of the game. Win or lose, whatever. We win, that's a bonus. But I think, and that's why I'm not as up in arms upset as some may be who have reinvested into the team, right?
Yes.
Because I keep going back to, the whole plan this season. Presti, he freaking told us in the offseason last summer, in like a 3-hour press conference that we might be tanking again, even though we got this high pick. We got Chet. And, I just conceded to that fact. but the winning has been nice. But the trade deadline stuff told me, like, they're not, because we've seen in the past where Presti would go and get somebody that's going to help him this season for a postseason push. And I don't think the plan is altered. So I actually give credit to Presti and Dagnall for staying the course, win or lose. And it just sucks that they lost. And we know they're going to win if SGA played.
Yeah, more than I mean, the one thing about it is, he's better defender than a lot of people realize, but still giving up 55% shooting to the Hornets. PJ Washington had 43. I mean, that's kind of an effort loss. But at the same time, with what was out there, I mean, that Thunder team isn't a playoff team.
No.
It's good, and that's considering as well as Williams and Giddey, and then also Isaiah Joe was awesome. But those guys aren't, no offense, they're just not ready. And I think at the end of the day, the one thing that's gonna benefit this team, whether or not they make the play-in or not, is to be in these games down the stretch for positioning that matter. I mean, they both of those guys, Williams and Giddey, stepped up to the free throw line last night and made 1 out of 2, which making both could have been the difference in the game. But that's not something either one of them have ever felt, that pressure in that situation of an NBA game. And so just that has to help moving forward. But my concern isn't the fans. My concern is one guy. Lack of quote-unquote going for it going to make Shea mad. Because after you saw him an Instagram about, the play-in, and there was like a cryptic kind of poem that he wrote, and,
I didn't see that.
Just how much that he was, jazzed about getting there. I hope those comments, I hope that attitude, I hope that plan doesn't disenfranchise him. Mm-hmm. Because with everything that the Thunder looks like they have moving forward and how excited everybody is about the possibilities, and it does mirror in a lot of ways that first group. I mean, it's hard to think about, because what we got to see out of that first group and the heights that they got to. It's hard to go back to that first season when it started out, 3-25.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden you got, this Durant guy's pretty good. Oh, they just handed the ball to a rookie point guard in Westbrook that was just a crazy man at first. You know what? This might be like he can do something. Jeff Green's pretty good. Oh, Then they draft Harden the next year, and next thing you know, they're in the playoffs. But it's hard to remember the doubt that you still had until run, and even after that. Okay, one off that they make the playoffs. Yeah. Then, they make to the Western Conference Finals. At that point, you could tell, okay, this is for real. But there still was that doubt like there is right now. Mm-hmm. And this Thunder group doesn't even have what should be by draft position, their best player.
That's right.
So it's but I completely I see both sides of this. It is the plan. The plan's working because they're in the position they're in. But also, if you're a fan and you're mad at hearing those comments from Dagnall, I don't blame you whatsoever. Because even though it hasn't been as long of a process as it was in Philly or a lot of other places, I mean, the bubble seems like forever ago, but it really wasn't. There's only been two seasons of this. And in both, you've got to see Shea. You know what I mean? So it hasn't been as awful here as a lot of other places. But I also get the sentiment of the awful is done. Let's get into the play-in.
Yeah, it's low-hanging fruit right now. Why not?
And that's the thing. It seems so attainable, too. Mm-hmm. It's not like the Thunder have to go on a 6-game win streak here at the end to be able – all they got to do is beat Charlotte. Try to beat Charlotte. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're essentially 2 games ahead of Dallas right now.
And back to Shea, I'm not sure he's playing tonight either. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
I haven't seen him. But my point is, he, all that, he's enamored with trying to get the playoffs and Instagram posts and all that stuff. They're not telling him, hey, slow down a little bit. This isn't part of the plan. He can. What I'm saying is he can help control his own destiny. He can control that goal if he come back and play. Because, like I said, if he's playing last night, let's face it, they win. He's the difference.
He's listed as doubtful today.
Doubtful.
Which he rolled his ankle in Portland. It's not like the one thing is that you can take heart in. It's not like they're making this up. I mean, he rolled his ankle, and you could see him noticeably limping against Portland. Mm-hmm. Like to the point where, golly, is he going to be able to play the next? That actually crosses your mind when you see what happened. Mm-hmm. But tonight, I think you want to talk about up in arms. If they lose tonight, Detroit's lost 10 in a row on the road.
Hate that.
87
streaks have to end, right? I hate that.
The matchup predictor is 87% on ESPN's website that the Thunder win this game. Detroit's only won 7 out of 36 on the road all season long. Even without Shea, this has to be a win. It has to be. Mm-hmm. And maybe that settles everybody down. Go to Indiana and win. Then what you hope is, Utah suffers a loss or two and kind of drops them out of it. Maybe they don't play everybody. Memphis is the last game at home for the Thunder. You hope they have the 2 seed locked up, so maybe they don't play any. You know what I'm saying? Even those tougher games, that the ones that look tough on the schedule coming up, you might get breaks in that those teams won't be at full strength when you actually have to play those games.
Yeah.
But last night, I mean, it just doesn't it feel a little bit like that's what, and you said it earlier, it feels to me like that's the game that when this is all said and done, you're going to look back and go, God, that Hornets loss was the one, man. Just as you said with the Anthony Davis shot that year. God, that was the one. But it doesn't seem like they care. We'll be back. I have an idea of perfection. The perfect swing of the club or bat, the perfect form on the free throw line, that perfectly placed spiral football, and especially those perfect grill marks on a high-quality cut of locally sourced prime beef. It takes lots of time to perfect quality, but a quick, simple call or message to Tucker Family Beef can put locally born, raised, fed, and processed beef in your family's freezer so you can practice and perfect those satisfying grill marks. Give Monty Tucker a call at Tucker Family Beef, 580-515-4477.
Hey! Is this heaven? No.
It's the Skinny on Sports.
Welcome back, Skinny on Sports, 98.1 FM, the sports animal. It's a Tucker Family Beef Wednesday. Coming up next is our Tucker Family Beef of the Week. Don't forget, the last segment I have made, it's on ESPN's website. They did the all-time starting fives of the 4 Final Four teams. So my question to you is, who are your all-time starting fives at OU or OSU?
That's a good question.
Put those together if you want to. Shoot us a text, 225-9698.
I did my best.
We might, I was going to say, we might kind of broach this subject today and then really talk about it tomorrow, depending on the time. Where we get to on the time-wise. Or we might just skip the NFL stuff after we do the Tucker Family Beef and fire through these.
Yeah, it is March.
I know Jeremy can't wait for me to have to apologize about the women's tournament. He's sitting on the edge of his seat with the numbers that I saw, and then he texted us as well. It's pretty amazing when you look at some of the TV ratings.
Yeah.
Comparing a couple of different things here over the weekend. But put those together, your all-time starting fives at OU and OSU, as an homage to that article on ESPN's website. Okay, also programming note, tomorrow, right at this time, tomorrow we will have the head baseball coach of the Big Elks, Jay McClure, will be with us at 9:30, and we'll talk about Big Elk baseball. Big weekend coming up. And then, of course, the following Monday and Tuesday is when the district really gets serious. You look at the standings right now in 4A District 4. You got 4 teams undefeated. You got 3 teams that haven't won a game.
Oh, wow.
Elk City, Clinton, Kingfisher, and I assume Kingfisher beat Woodward last night. If that was the case, here, I'll look it up. Okay. Talk amongst yourselves. Yes. You've got 4 teams at 6-0, 3 teams at 0-8. starting next week, Elk City, Weatherford, Clinton, Kingfisher, they all start playing each other. So the district standings will start to kind of become a little bit more clear as to where that's going to be, who gets to host regionals and that kind of thing.
Hey, did you plan on having Coach in here on opening day?
I didn't even think about it, but it has worked perfect.
Get his preview.
Nobody wants to hear about the Yankees.
He's a big Yankees fan.
Yes.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah, we won't. We'll just hope he doesn't know.
Let's hope he forgets it's opening day. He has bigger things to worry about.
Yeah, he'll be here 10:30 tomorrow. All
right,
Jared.
Another real quick thing while we're on the baseball topic, I want to give a shout out to my old high school baseball coach Kelly Gaunt. Got his 800th career win as a head baseball coach over at Clinton.
Dang.
Just had this a couple days ago. So shout out to Coach Gaunt.
It's awesome. He's been there doing a heck of a job for a long
time. Doing a good job.
Very good. Very, very good. Tucker Family Beef, Jared. I know you've had this dining experience with Tucker Family Beef.
Of course
as have I. I just had some in a Mexican casserole last night.
Oh,
got some teed up tonight with the kind of the chicken fried steak option. We're going to make kind of a beef and broccoli dish with some lemon, some garlic, some soy sauce,
Sounds
kind of
good.
that kind of thing. Probably maybe thinking about putting that over rice. But Tucker Family Beef, it is locally born, it's locally raised, it's locally fed, and it's locally processed, and it is prime beef. What is prime beef, you ask? Well, it's just the top of the top. When the USDA grades it out, it's the best you can buy, prime beef. There's 3 options to purchase. You can do individual cuts, which is just buy a steak, buy some hamburger meat, buy some a roast or brisket or what have you. There's bundles that have some different options within those bundles of different cuts, or you can buy it by bulk. You can bulk buy the beef by a quarter, half, or whole. He's got some spots open for April and then into May as well. So for sure by Memorial Day, you can have Tucker Family Beef in your freezer. You're not going to get a better deal for better quality of beef. It's just not going to happen. If you don't believe me, you can check out everything that Monty and everybody's got out there. Tucker Family Beef's Facebook page or tuckerfamilybeef.com. You can shop through that website at tuckerfamilybeef.com. It's an awesome eating experience. I promise you will not be disappointed if you try that out, and you'll be hooked, and you'll be a customer for life as soon as you try it one single time. Tucker Family Beef, Monty Tucker. Give him a call, 580-374-5444. Okay, you better go first, Jared, because when I do my Tucker Family Beef, this might be the last time I talk on the radio. So go ahead. Why don't you go?
Oh, wow. We're getting a little controversial there. I'm going to go with basketball. It is basketball season. It kind of goes back to the lack of fans at OU game, kind of in the same vein, but different angle. I've seen people, and I saw some people in defense of this for what I'm about to say, and I agree with it. People complaining about the quality of college basketball, what they've seen over March Madness, and people are like, what do you expect? It's not the NBA. And I looked up these numbers. You know what percentage of D1 players actually go pro?
Not very high.
2%. As of, I got this from exactsports.com, which just breaks it down. This is as of February 15th. 2% of D1 college basketball players actually go to the NBA. Or I just put in go pro. Now you can...
Overseas, NBA,
yeah,
G League,
but I'm just
anything.
going with whatever, 2%. So I guess what I'm saying is if you tune into March Madness expecting NBA Finals quality basketball or NBA quality basketball overall, you're not going to get it. You're going to get college basketball. What I'm saying is expect to watch what you expect to watch. Don't expect to watch the pros playing in March. Does that make sense? So quit complaining about it. That's my beef. Just quit complaining about quality when, this is a perfect analogy, Tucker Family Beef. If you're not you pay for the quality of beef, right? All right. If you're paying for, some roadside truck stop steak, That's what you're going to get. Right? So you want prime beef? You want to watch prime basketball? Watch the NBA. But you're going to get what you're going to get when you're watching college basketball. So quit complaining about it. That's all I'm saying. That's my beef.
I wonder how much that the NIL and people feeling like these guys are more professional.
Yeah, I can see that. It's like, oh,
how much that affects
this guy
that
got
thought.
this NIL deal. He should be playing at that $2 million level or whatever it was.
Did you see Bronny? Bronny's got it's like $7.3 million.
Oh, I don't doubt it.
Bronny
And
James.
it has nothing to do with his ability.
He was pretty good.
I understand that.
At the,
but
no, I mean
but if
at
his
the
name,
McDonald's
his
game.
Dad wasn't.
Oh, sure.
But
that gets him the money, but he was actually
right.
I've been one of those that's been thinking, really?
Sure.
He's pretty good.
Yeah.
Almost looks like, at least at this time in their careers, I think he might be able to shoot it better than LeBron could. Remember watching him clang him around and when he was on in high school?
Yeah,
he wasn't the greatest shooter
yeah.
by any stretch. His son might be actually a better shooter than him. Anyhow. Do you know what this is? You know what March is designated as?
March Madness? I don't know.
National Women's Month.
Oh, okay.
I saw something on Sunday that was pretty irritating, and that irritation grew on Monday.
I think I know where you're going with this.
So on Sunday, ESPN saluted Leah Thomas, a dude that swims with the chicks. And I've talked about this a couple of different times and how absurd that is and how ridiculous that is and how quit pretending that this is helping in sports. Stop it. You're ruining women's sports by letting some dude that's not good enough. But that's just like in the sports world, right? And it's frustrating and it makes you mad. But it doesn't seem like anything's going to happen about it. And, we're going to talk about the women's tournament ratings coming up here in just a little bit. What's going to happen when this phenomenon gets into that? Is that what it takes to quit? When some dude is out there just humiliating girls on the basketball court and dunking it in their face? Is that when we're going to finally decide, you know what, this is ridiculous? So, that's happening on Sunday.
And it's coming too, right?
Oh, you know it's
coming.
coming. You know it's coming. And so that's happening. And then Monday happens. And Monday happens in Nashville, Tennessee, with one of these people that was not told the truth. And it festers in to little kids getting murdered. Okay? That's why I harp on how ridiculous it is because sports aren't real life, but they can be a mirror image of real life. And because nobody would tell that girl the truth, we end up with what happened on Monday. And it's sad and it's infuriating and it's an attack on people who believe in God. Point blank, that's the truth. And then, of course, you hear the fallout of what's happening. At what point are we going to quit worrying about sending money overseas? Have you seen this number yet? It takes $4.8 billion is the survey to have one security guard at every school in America. And anybody that says that won't work is lying because the shooter this time admitted that they went to where they went to because it wasn't guarded.
I didn't see that.
In the writings. She cased the joints, was wanting to go to a different place, but went, you know what? Nope. That's guarded. I'm going to go to this other one. $4.8 billion is all it takes to do a better job securing the most important thing in all of our lives. Maybe back out that $4.8 million of the $150 billion these idiots have sent to Ukraine and protect our students. But the point is, the more that we sit here in sports and allow this ridiculousness of men playing with women, the more it starts to seep down into our real lives. And we saw exactly what that creates, unfortunately, on Monday. And it makes everybody sick to their stomach that actually has a heart and is not just after some sort of political power and I told you so crap. It's a pretty small investment to take care of your kids, and it's an easy investment to quit pretending that it's okay for these dudes to play with the girls. Stop it. Stop it right now, and let's move on and just stop. It's ridiculous.
Also, maybe stop trying to defund the police, because kudos to the Nashville Police Department, because it could have been a lot worse. Their response, if you haven't seen that body cam footage, that is how you do it. That's why police are valued in communities.
Those dudes sprinted to the sound of gunshots.
Yes.
We'll be back. I have an idea of perfection. The perfect swing of the club or bat, the perfect form on the free throw line, that perfectly placed spiral football, and especially those perfect grill marks on a high-quality cut of locally sourced prime beef. It takes lots of time to perfect quality, but a quick, simple call or message to Tucker Family Beef can put locally born, raised, fed, and processed beef in your family's freezer so you can practice and perfect those satisfying grill marks. Give Monty Tucker a call at Tucker Family Beef, 580-515-4477.
The Skinny on Sports.
Welcome back. Skinny on Sports, 98.1 FM, the sports animal. It's a Tucker Family Beef, a Wednesday. I mentioned Monty and Danielle and Tommy and everybody out at Tucker Family Beef. Locally born, raised, fed, and processed prime beef. I'm serious. Do yourself a favor and go to tuckerfamilybeef.com and just look at what they've got. And if you'll start, if you'll start with an individual cut and just buy a steak, buy a roast, buy a brisket, whatever it may be, you'll start there, and by the time you're all said and done, you'll be down here buying it by the bulk, like we do at our house with the halves, the wholes, the quarters, because it's an unbelievable dining experience, and you get high quality, locally sourced prime beef at a price that you cannot touch in the store. Not even close. You just cannot. You can't do it once you start buying it by the bulk. It's awesome stuff. It's Monty at tuckerfamilybeef.com is the website. They got a Facebook page. Or you can call him 580-374-5444. We've got some response here, Jared, to the all-time starting fives at OU and OSU. You said you kind of threw one together. So, let's start with OSU.
OSU, okay.
OSU. Kind of give me an idea. I put them
without even thinking about positions.
I put them in kind of positions, but
I just kind of went.
It also kind of went
the top five that came to my head.
Okay.
So I went with Big Country Bryant Reeves. I went with Desmond Mason, Tony Allen, John Lucas, and a guy that's always stood out to me because he always seemed like he was a thorn in OU's side. And people go, why'd you put him on there? Just because every time I heard this guy, he made me shudder a little bit. It's like, oh, we got to play this guy again. James on Curry. That guy was he was kind of a decent player. I'm not ready to put Marcus Smart there. I maybe put him as a reserve. Joey Graham, and because the name is the coolest name in OSU basketball history, Dickie Nutt. I just wanted to say Dickie Nutt on air because that's actually his name.
Interesting. And
Eddie played for him. Bill Self played for him. I don't know if I'm ready to put them there just because they're really, really good coaches. Were they just as good players as they were good coaches? Maybe Bill. But so those are ones that kind of stood out to me. But those first five, Bryant Reeves got me to the Final Four. Obviously, John Lucas did. Did Mason? But they had a great career. And you could also probably throw Doug Gottlieb in there. I just don't like the guy on air, but he was a good ball player.
Interesting that nobody has put a certain name on here for the OSU side that I thought would get love just because of how recent it was. Cade Cunningham.
Well, it's the same reason I left. I was kind of about Marcus Smart.
Right.
They're still playing. Marcus Smart's been a nice pro.
Yeah.
Will Cade Cunningham be a good pro? I don't know. And he was a one-and-done guy. It's the same reason I didn't put a certain somebody for OU in my starting
Yeah, I didn't
five.
either. I know exactly who you're talking about.
Okay.
My OSU starting 5, I went Gottlieb at point. Another name that nobody else has mentioned, and maybe is just I put him on here for one game for sure, but Randy Rutherford as a shooting guard. He put 45 on Kansas in Fog Allen on a day where Big Country didn't score, if I remember, maybe didn't make a basket. So I got Randy Rutherford at the shooting guard, Desmond Mason, small forward, Byron Houston at the power forward, and Big Country is the center. Some other names, Glendon Alexander. You mentioned Marcus Smart, Tony Allen, John Lucas, and then Cade Cunningham. And there's plenty more to go around for OSU. I think it's an interesting choice of if you want to name a coach for OSU. Do you go with Eddie or do you go with Hank Iba?
Well, you got the Gallagher Iba Arena, but Eddie, that's a good one. That's a real good one. I'd have to weigh it like Final Fours versus winning
Titles.
percentage and titles and conference titles and, then the off-the-court stuff. Eddie dealt with a lot of off-the-court stuff, namely the 10 and
Right.
guiding his team through that tragedy and still getting through the season. That's a good question. I don't know. That's a good question.
Another name on the text line, Richard Dumas.
I remember him.
And John Starks. What about John Starks?
Yeah, John Starks was good.
I think a lot of the John Starks come as a Nick. It's hard to remember him as at OSU.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah.
So what do you got for OU?
A lot of recent, and you could tell from when I grew up and heavy on the 90s. Blake Griffin, Buddy Hield, Wayman. You got to put Wayman Tisdale. Hollis Price. And he was like very close to not being my 5, but man, I was so enamored and infatuated with Eduardo Nahara because of how he played. And he kind of set the tone with what a Coach Kelvin Sampson team was going to be moving forward at OU. The toughness, the hustle, all that. So that's why I put him there. Alvin Adams, a reserve. Mookie Blaylock. Ryan Miner. Now, Trey Young, I put him as a reserve. He's one of those if he was there just one more season, just for 2 seasons, he'd be breaking a lot of records. And another guy, kind of an off-the-cuff guy, I thought he was a big reason they had a lot of success, was that the 01-02 season. Aaron Ace McGee. He was one of my favorites, too. How about you?
It hurt my heart not to put Hollis Price. He was one of my favorite players ever for OU. But I just couldn't do it.
In your 5 or anything?
In my top 5.
Gotcha.
I couldn't do it. I had Mookie there. Buddy Hield at shooting guard. I have Ryan Miner at small forward. That is probably a heart pick as much as anything. But that dude, being from where he was from and being as good as, especially that junior year where he was Big 12 Player of the Year, they were upset in the tournament by Franford Schilla. What was that little team? They were green and white. Is it Niagara? Is that who beat them? Ryan's. I can't remember.
I can't remember either.
Fran was the coach. Anyway, then Wayman and Blake Griffin. You mentioned Alvin. Another name a bunch of people have, and it's hard to argue. Stacey King.
Yes.
The 88 run, in those teams, he was unbelievable. He was cool before cool was there. You mentioned Trey. Jeff Webster, you remember him?
No.
Jeff Webster was a really good player back in the kind of the end of Billy. The Skeeter meter, just because that's a cool nickname, Skeeter Henry. There's been tons of I see Harvey Grant on the list from Sam. That's a really, obviously he was a fantastic player at OU. Some other names, let's see, Terry Evans has made one of the lists here on the text line.
It's a good one.
Coach at OU?
Well, there's Billy Ball. Billy Tubbs, I mean, I just said it. He created something that no one's ever seen. Billy Ball, just that up and down. Maybe it was happening at the same time over there at Arkansas. And then Kelvin Sampson. I mean, can you name anyone else that has done as much as those two have done, or did? Kruger got him to a Final Four and kind of righted the ship, and now we'll see where it's going now that he's retired. But
I mean, as much as I love Kelvin, come on, you want to play Billy Ball. That's simple, right?
Of course.
I mean, if you put together this team, you're like, hey, you guys want to sit down there with the contraption over the rim and just shoot and watch it miss and have to beat each other up for a rebound like Kelvin would make you do? Or do you want to run up and down, score 150? I think the choice is easy.
Of course.
Let's take Billy Ball.
Yeah.
Billy Ball all day long.
Do you think when Billy Tubbs was done, there was that, oh, no, it's over. The run's over. And then here comes Kelvin Sampson, and he puts his brand on it. And at the end of the day, they just kept winning.
Yeah, people were mad at Kelvin for a while.
For a little bit when he first started.
And it wasn't because of lack of success. Although the tournament, that's the one thing about Kelvin. You forget there at first. He went through a streak, 4 or 5 years straight where he didn't get out of the first round. And then all of a sudden, the upset of Arizona as literally a 13 seed, as an at-large, the last team in the tournament. And that's where, Nahara comes in to focus. Gosh, was that against Kentucky or was it Michigan State where he just got laid out on that screen in the Sweet 16?
Yeah.
Was it Kentucky they played?
They upset him, whoever it was.
No. They got beat in the Sweet 16.
Was the game where he got laid out and
that's when
he
they
left
got beat.
the court and he came back?
Yeah, that's the game they lost.
His toughness?
Yes. Because they beat Arizona. They upset Arizona in round 1, and they beat Charlotte, UNC Charlotte in round 2. And then I think they played Kentucky the next game. In Sweet 16 he got beat. But that was when, Kelvin got that stench off of him of not being able to win first round games in the tournament. And the next thing you know, a couple years later, they're in the Final Four. But that's when the country knew about Nahara.
Yeah.
Was taking that screen in that loss and like knocking his tooth out and knocking him out. I mean, like nowadays he would have never got to play again.
No.
He'd have been done for that game for sure. That year. But I think it's interesting because both schools, it tells you that they've had some really, really good players, really good teams throughout the years to be able to put that level of talent as your starting five. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you can go up against Kansas or Duke or North Carolina or somebody like that. But when you start kind of picking and choosing guys off of all the teams throughout the years, you're talking about some animals on both sides that can really, really, really play. And you start to realize why, especially in that run in the mid-'90s through the first few years of the new millennium when it was Eddie and Kelvin battling back and forth. Now you start to understand, looking at the teams that a lot of us made, a bunch of those teams were filled with those guys that were in those battles over and over and lots of success. Oh, those were the days, Jared. Oh, those were the days.
Here's a fun OU fact. Do you know who OU's second men's basketball coach was?
No.
From 1909 to 1921, had a 68% winning, or a 68 winning percentage.
Is it somebody you know of? Have you heard this name?
Oh yeah, there's a certain famous place on the campus named
Lloyd
after
Noble.
him. It would be Benny Owen.
Oh, really? He coached basketball?
He
I did
did
not know
double
that.
duties there. He was doing football and basketball. Coached from 1909 to 1921. Won 152 games. No, I'm sorry, 104 games. Coach 152 games. Never knew that.
I hate looking at Twitter sometimes.
Yeah, careful.
Looks like we're about to have some more bad news. Back to what I was talking about.
Oh, dear.
Earlier. Anyhow.
Wow. It's already 10:03.
It is 10:03. All right. Thank you to Monty. Thank you to Tucker Family Beef on a Wednesday. You always love it. Love talking about the Tucker Family Beef.
Yes.
Tomorrow, don't forget, Jay McClure, 9:30. Talk Big Oak baseball. 14-2 so far this year, and undefeated 6-0 in District 4, Class 4A. Everybody have a great day. We'll be back tomorrow. It's been the Skinny on Sports right here on the Sports Animal.
You've been listening to the Skinny on Sports podcast with Aaron Cow. Be sure to hit that subscribe button to get alerts of when the latest podcast is available. Thanks for listening.
That ball is blistered to right. Way back. Goodbye.
Win something one time and it could be a fluke. Do it twice and people know you're for real. Win it 3 times and we use the word dynasty. And if you win something a 4th time, now we're talking about total dominance. For the 4th time, the Oklahoma Association of Broadcasters has named Aaron Kauk's The Skinny on Sports Report the non-metro sportscast of the year.
Good afternoon, Western Oklahoma. I'm Aaron Kauk, and this is the Skinny on Sports Report.
Congratulations, Aaron, or should we say Mr. 4-timer. Now keep on dominating.